Hi, my name is Alan Smith, and in this short webcast I'm going to talk you through the installation of the global Azure racing game and show you how to drive a lab. I'll also talk a bit about the website, a bit about the hands-on lab, and I'll show you how you can view the lap time and telemetry data. This is the website that we're going to be using for the racing lab. You can see that the URL is gabracing.azurewebsites.net. In order to authenticate with a website, we need to use the lab key. The lab key is 3 groups of 3 letters separated by hyphens. In order to find the lab key for your location, you'll need to log on to the Global Azure Bootcamp site with your organizer credentials. You can then select the link to view your profile, click on the Events tab. You should then find a link to the event that you're organizing. If you click on that link, you'll go to the event details page, and if you scroll right down to the bottom, you'll find the actual lab key for your location. And I've blanked out my lab key in the video to prevent other people from using it. So with your lab key, you'll now be able to authenticate with a website, and the authentication is not case sensitive. So this is the website. It's currently under development and will look different on the day, but you can get an idea of the functionality of the website. The main page displays the overall standings for the racing game. Points are awarded for the drivers for setting times on the individual laps, and the total number of points will give the highest number in the standings. You can also browse to the different pages for the different tracks and see the lap times that have been set on each individual track. The table will also display the lap delta, which is how far you are off the fastest time, and also the amount of damage that you caused to the car during that lap. When playing the game, you'll have the opportunity to unlock achievements. The achievements will count towards your country's score, and your name will be listed in the achievements table. There will be changes made to this on the day, so there will be new achievements appearing, and there will be a much better format to the achievements table on the day. On the main page, there's a link to the hands-on lab. This is a lab that attendees can run through to build a website that will show the high score times and lap times for their particular location or country. The hands-on lab will take about 30 minutes to get running, and there's also some challenge stages available. It's based using purely HTML and JavaScript. The links for installing the XNA redistributable and the game are also on the main page, and I'll walk through the installation quickly to show you how it works. The first thing you'll need to install is the XNA 4.0 redistributable. I'm going to go to that page, click on the download link, and run the setup application. You can see that XNA redistributable is already installed on this machine, so I can cancel away from the setup there and return to the main website. The next thing is to install the game itself. Clicking on the install link will take us to a new page. And on this page we can actually run the installation of the game. Now if you're using Chrome, there's a slight glitch in the button to perform the installation. Clicking on the button will fail. What you actually have to do is to click on the text within the button to get the setup application to download. And once you've done that, you can run the install. You can see that a message is popping up saying Windows protected your PC. This is because the game is currently unsigned. Click the Run Anyway button and the game will download and install. Now this wasn't speeded up. I did actually install a 175 megabyte application in about 4 seconds. I've got a really fast internet connection here. If you're on a slower connection, it may take quite a bit more time for the download to complete. Again, we're getting a warning here from Windows because it's an unsigned application. We need to click on More Info and then click the Run Anyway button. And once that's done, the game should start and it will prompt you for your lab key. So here, you enter the same lab key that you used to authenticate with a website. Again, it's not case sensitive. If you enter a lab key that's not valid, you'll get an authentication failed message. I'm going to pause the recording whilst I enter my lab key because we really want to keep it secret from other locations. So with the correct lab key entered, we can now go to the main screen of the application. Clicking on the Help button will show the controls. You can use the mouse and keyboard, you can use an Xbox controller for Windows, and it's also possible to use a driving wheel. The Energy Recovery System, or ERS system, has been added to the game to make it a bit more strategic when driving a lap. You can activate ERS by pressing the Shift key or by pressing the A button on the Xbox for Windows controller. The game also has a high scores table, which will display the best times for the 3 laps in the game. The settings page will allow you to modify the graphics and sound settings of the game. Here you can change the resolution, set full screen mode, and also change the graphics effects. You can also change the volume of the game. Controller sensitivity can also be modified here. I like to increase this to the maximum value when I'm driving. Ideally, the game should run at between 30 and about 60 frames per second. Modifying the screen resolution will have an effect on the frame rate. The game will also automatically adjust the post-screen effects, the shadow and the high detail mode to get the game to run at the appropriate frame rate. And I'm going to set the game to 1024 by 567 just so it's displaying in a smaller window. You can see that I'm running at 130, 120 frames a second here. You can see a message at the top of the screen saying hammer time starts in about 2 hours and 22 minutes. Hammer time is going to be a 10-minute section that occurs once every 4 hours, and it's going to be on different times dependent on your time zone. During the 10-minute hammer time, we'd really like as many people as possible to play the game, and this is going to generate a big load of lap data and telemetry data on the back-end game services. And it's going to be interesting to see how well the game services handle this sudden increase of load. If the game is left on the main menu and no controls are pressed, after about 10 seconds it will transform to a TV mode. This mode is ideal for displaying on a big screen or projector. It basically shows the overall lap times for the beginner track, and it also uses the replay data from these top drivers to animate the cars driving around the track as they were racing. If your car is in the top 100 times, you may be able to spot your car driving around on the lap. So let's drive a lap and see if we can set a good time. Car selection is very important. There's 3 different cars and they each have different characteristics for acceleration, car mass, max speed and braking. I prefer to select the car with the best acceleration. Once the car is selected, you can choose from the tracks, and it's good to drive on all 3 tracks if you want to get a good time in the standings. I'll select the easy track because that's the quickest one to complete. With the track selected, we transition back to the settings page, and I'm going to enter the name that I'm going to be using when I'm going to be competing in this lap. I'll enter Alan Webcast, so that's an easy name that we can spot coming up in the high scores table. So I'll click the select button to go into the game. Now off the start you can see on the bottom right hand side of the screen there's a ERS battery indicator, and you can see that's going down. That's because I'm using the ERS system to get a boost off the line and accelerate and hopefully overtake some other cars. I'm approaching a corner now and I'm going to brake for the corner, and as I brake you'll see that the ERS battery charges up, and that means that I can use that power to get more acceleration out of the corner. Braking and then using ERS to accelerate out of the corner is going to be a great way to improve your lap time. As I'm driving round, you can see the replays from all of the other drivers that have set fast times, and every time I overtake one of those I'll move up 1 position in the ranking. We're approaching the end of the lap now, so it gives me the chance to overtake a few more cars and see if I can set a good time. So I got a time of 1 minute 6.8 seconds that put me just outside the top 10. And you can see that that new time has just appeared in the high scores. And that was done by using a push notification using the Azure service bus, which was coming from the back-end game services that are processing the lap time data. So let's go back to the website and examine the lap time and telemetry data for that lap. Going to the beginner lap times table, you can see that the lap that I set is in 11th place. And if I click on the lap time link, we'll transition to a page that shows the telemetry data for this lap. The first graph shows the car's speed and the amount of damage that I did to the car during the lap. And you can see that I had a crash which affected the car's speed, and that's why I lost quite a bit of lap time. The second graph shows the driver input, and you can see where I'm using the throttle, the brakes and the steering during the game. Let's look at the telemetry data for the best lap, which I set on a good day. Here you can see I've maintained a much higher car speed and done less damage to the car. You can also see in the driver input data where I'm braking and accelerating into the corners on the lap, and also how that's affected the car speed. When you're playing the game, you can analyse other drivers' telemetry data to see how they're driving a lap, and then use that to adjust your driving style. Thanks for taking the time to check out this website, and I hope you can take a bit of time before the event to check out the game. If you have any feedback on the game, or any questions, or find any bugs, please send an email to me at cloudcast.net@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to make changes in the game and answer any questions. I think it's going to be great fun to run this lab on the day, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what people do with the hands-on labs with building web applications, and also to see what kind of lap times people are setting. I'll see you in the game on the 25th.